things to consider on farm clients. For those of you who don't know me, I spent 5 years in the field as an agency owner. And I also went through this program when I was a rep. So I'm very excited to be here with you today, going through it from this side. I'm also joined by Brian McCormick, who you'll hear from in a few minutes. He is our subject matter expert, who will be here to answer any questions that you may have during this session. Let's go ahead and begin with some housekeeping notes for this next hour. To make a really good learning environment for ourselves and each other, we would ask that you would minimize distractions. So how do we do that? Well, first off, make sure that your cell phones are silenced. If you could make sure that you are on mute at all times as well for your microphone here. If you get a phone call, please don't push the hold button because that will disrupt your time here in the meeting. You can put your status on do not disturb, which will stop any of those interruptions for someone trying to send you a message or calling through to your team's phone. I highly recommend, if you come on camera with me today, that you avoid sitting with anything distracting behind you, like a bright light source or anything in a professional meeting. On that note, I do ask that you engage with me today. If you have a thought or a question, you can go ahead and raise your hand, or of course use the chat box. I would ask that you speak clearly and professionally at all times for this meeting. If you could just go ahead and open up that chat box, you could find that at the top toolbar in your Microsoft Teams session here. So right there is your chat box to start off with. Next to it, you're going to find the raise hand. So if you have a question and you want to raise that hand, it'll look a little bit like this. If you accidentally hit that, that's not a problem. We call that a virtual high five. And then you just hit it one more time to lower your hand. If you hear something today that you really like, you can use the reactions. And of course, please do go ahead and turn your cameras on if you would like to participate with me so I can see your faces. I would love that. And also make sure that your microphone there has a slash through it to ensure that it is muted and avoid any of that uninterrupted background noise. All right. On that note, let's go ahead and go to our agenda. We'll be going through the farm certification program, give you an overview and talk through a few of the benefits, just reminding you of what those are. We'll go through the sales growth toolbox and the Farm Hub resources and talk through a few considerations for you to keep in mind as you have those resources available to you. And then you're going to hear from Brian, who'll go through the underwriting focus that we have for you today, and of course take any questions that you might have for him, and he'd be happy to answer those with us today. All right, let's go ahead and begin with that farm certification overview that I mentioned a moment ago. We launched this program in 2023 with the intent to position our farm certified reps to be the educated advisor for our farm clients, the kind of knowledgeable discussion partner that a farm owner would want to work with. In addition to this farm certification will allow you to now promote yourself as a country farm certified rep in your communities. And there's also some key benefits in it for you. So at the end of this session, I'll drop some resources for you, including a link to those benefits. I just want to highlight a couple of those right now. Farm reassignment. If somebody retires or leaves your agency and that farm client is now available, if you are farm certified, you will be a rep eligible to receive that farm client. That's the first, I think, one of the most important benefits to highlight there. There's also a 50-50 co-op available only to farm certified reps for Feed a Farmer. That is a very successful campaign that you'll have access to, along with many marketing benefits that you'll find when I share that link at the end of our session. To become farm certified, you must complete the educational path and write four farm or AgriPlus policies throughout the year. So congratulations to all of you on this call, as this is the final review session in the last part of that learning path. To retain your farm certification, each year you'll need to write 4 or more farm or agribusiness policies. And then you'll complete a short, ongoing, continuing education course. Okay. So let's go ahead and review farm reviews, because I think that this is an important part of the process. Another reminder to stay on mute during these sessions. I'll go ahead and judge my ability to mute everyone. That's that unintended background noise we were mentioning a moment ago. Okay. So go ahead and open up your chat box for me if you don't have that open already. It's using the chat box. I want to hear from you. Go ahead and tell me, why do you think checking farm reviews is important? Let's chat about this for a moment. In your opinion, why is a farm review important for maybe your retention with your farm clients? What will you learn? Things and equipment changes. Thank you, Carla. Absolutely. Ellen's coming in here. Yeah, catching the new equipment. That is important, especially with farm equipment, right? There's a lot of expense going into that. So farmers are busy, as you can imagine. And it's going to be important to stay top of mind and make sure that we are capturing if the equipment has changed, if they've updated that. Yeah, it's sold and purchased. That's so common, right? Thank you, Tristan. That's so true. If maybe they have a $300,000 equipment that they've upgraded, now that could be valued at $500,000, right? That's a huge gap that we want to make sure we're able to cover with that farm personal property. So we need to be in front of that proactively through our reviews. Yeah, potential claim issues. Thank you, Kevin. Life changes. Absolutely. Okay, I've got another question for you. Okay, using the chat again, tell me, is it more effective to meet the client in your office or at their farm property? What do you think? At the farm. At the farm, yeah. I think we're all unanimous in that, right? And there's plenty of reasons for that, right? Keeping an updated farm personal property list is very important. So being able to walk around the property and see what has changed, what they have, but also thinking about updated photos, right? That outbuilding I saw mentioned a moment ago, making sure that we have updated current photos of the things on that property. It's going to be a lot more effective to talk about that when you're on the farm, especially because they might forget something if you're just sitting inside of your office. So I think we're all on the same page there. These reviews will allow you to gain a better understanding of your client's operation, right? Asking questions, being curious, especially if you're new to riding a farm, you might want to ask questions of something that you see and maybe don't understand. What is that? What's the value of that kind of equipment, right? Do you rent that or do you own that? Reviews are going to put you in front of your client and provide those cross-selling opportunities. I think I saw that a moment ago. You're going to have the opportunity to deepen that relationship, right? Write more lines of business. And over time, if you're writing more things for them, you might become their one-stop shop, which I think for farm clients is really going to be a helpful resource to have. One person to contact for their home, for their farm operation, and for their cars. So I encourage you guys to also ask your farm clients, hey, when is your busy season, right? You need to understand what is the best time of year to be getting together, and then you can consistently maybe work that into your calendar to be following up with them during the slow season, during that slow time of day. All right, so let's go through some best practices, right? Not only will you be able to talk through their operation, but the farm personal property inventory, as we all should know by now, is also available electronically. It's not just by paper form anymore. So before you have that review with your clients, go ahead and send them the current list that you have of everything. This is going to help them maybe think through, oh yeah, that's right, I did just buy some new equipment. I need to update my list with my agent, right? What else? The farm review to-do list. Who's taking advantage of this to-do list? We'll drop that in our resources at the end here. Go ahead and drop in the chat. Are you using that farm review to-do list? Has that been helpful for you? We'll walk through that in a moment too. I'll share my screen and we can go through a few resources in a few minutes, but the farm to-do review list is really a nice one sheet that's going to give you some helpful tips at where you are in the process. So if you're new to writing farm, I highly recommend you take advantage of that. Darla, we'll walk through it here in a moment, and you'll see why I'm really recommending that we use that to-do list that we now have access to. Okay, so thank you guys for your discussion there. Let's move to talking about marketing ourselves. What's in it for us if we focus on farm clients, right? They are one of our core clients, right? Well, why? Why are we so focused on farm? What is a farmer willing to do that typical homeowner maybe isn't thinking about? Use the chat again and tell me what's in it for you commission-wise. Do you know that? What's your commission floor for selling farm business? So you want to know that percentage? That's right. Somebody's coming in there. 12%, right? That's a little bit more than your average homeowner. Okay? So a 12% commission is a great place to start and focus on your efforts there. Not only the farm, but that cross-sell opportunity we were talking about earlier, right? 12% on the farm, 10% on the home. Take you through your autos, wherever you are on the grid. Life insurance cross-sell too. Why would life insurance be important to a farmer, do you think? Yeah, Carla's saying they take advantage of all we have to offer. Absolutely. Legacy, right? You want to keep that farm in the family. Absolutely. Be your own banker. I love that. Kevin, would you mind coming off of me and talking to me about that? Do you have clients taking advantage of being their own banker?
No, but you can utilize that for cash value buildup, so they don't have to go and see the loan officer during operational expense time. So it just makes things a lot easier. Plus, the interest rate's a lot less.
Right. Absolutely. I think this is a perfect note to be, letting farmers know about. You can absolutely be your own banker when you want to update equipment, right? When things change in the future and you need to do so. So I love that answer. Thank you for sharing. So you're going to want to get in front of opportunities to sell to farmers. So obviously taking advantage of the campaigns you can enroll into, taking advantage of Feed the Farmer, sponsoring a local FFA, a 4-H event, attending your local fairs in your community where farmers are going to be present at, joining an ag association, right? I actually used to be a part of BNI when I was in the field. I'm sure many of you are a part of a networking organization. And rather than just coming in week after week and saying, yeah, I sell insurance, I would come in with a specific ask. I am looking for more farmers that I could serve in our community. And that simple note brought me a lot of business back in the day because people know people, they know farmers. And once you can write a new farm and save them some money, by the way, we are really aligned this unicorn fight to be competitive, right? For farmers. So once you write that farm and you save them money or you save them time because you become their one-stop shop, farmers talk to other farmers, right? Similar to the micro business space. They're going to know other people to recommend to you. So when you're taking good care of them, you might get those referrals. And here's the cool part. For those of you on this call that might be new to the farm space, I just want to remind you that you don't have to be the expert here, right? Brian McCormick is our expert today here, right? We have experts that we have access to being here. So again, similar to what I always say to our new reps in agency training, you don't have to know everything, right? You can build a business for yourself but you're not by yourself. You have the farm underwriters. We'll drop their phone number in our resources today as well. So they can help you with any questions that you have as you are the expert to your farm client. Now you have the Farm Hub, our SharePoint site that we'll walk through today. Lots of resources. The Sales Growth Toolbox provides a lot of farm-centered information and some resources for you that we'll walk through as well. Take advantage of seminars offered by Country Financial and your crop specialists. We're focused on giving you ways to stay in front of your clients, right? Okay, so with that, we've been talking a lot about the resources. So I do want to go ahead and share my screen and go to Agency News. And I'm going to show you how to access these farm resources, as well as the farm certification. So let me go ahead and do that. And I just want to make mention, in the background, I'm joined by Ryan Nicholson. He is my co-facilitator today. So Ryan, in a moment, would you do me a favor and tell me when you can see my screen?
We can see it.
Thank you, Ryan. Okay, so this is Agency News. I'm sure we're all very familiar with this page by now. So what you're going to do to access your resources here is you're going to go to hover over Agency Resources. And you're just going to come on over to the Sales Growth Toolbox area and come down to Farm. So that's where you're going to start to get to your main farm resources. So we'll go to the Farm Hub here in a moment, but I just want to scroll down here and just show you that the breadth of vast resources we have here available to you. Everything from the farm certification training, which you're already within right now. Of course, you've got the full list of that training over here. But if you are wanting to take a look at Click to Know, to ask a specific question about your farming operation, or just to get started with your client on going through a new quote for a farm policy or Country Estates, you have access to the Farm Hub right here. Of course, you can get into your farm personal property tool right here. This is that electronic version I was talking about a moment ago. If you're more comfortable, we still do have the paper copies of these as well, but you definitely need to keep an updated copy of Farm Personal Property with you at all times. Love that idea that we have this electronically available now. Okay, so you have access to a whole lot here. Definitely want to highlight the marketing campaigns here. So if you want to enroll into a farm campaign, this is where you can start and explore that. Want to build that local farm expertise brand for yourself and your agency, you can come here. And of course, you need more support. We're marketing and support here. They've got this itemized out for social media, for campaigns, leads activities. So lots of great information that you have access to right here as well. For your meetings, even more resources that you can go through here. So just want to make sure you know where to go in your Sales Growth Toolbox to find all of these resources. Your Farm Fact Finder will include that with our resources at the end of today's session as well. And hey, Ryan, I cannot see the chat right now, so if any questions pop in, go ahead. If you want me to slow down on anything, if anyone asks something right now, just let me know.
So far, no questions, Kevin.
Thank you. All right, we'll also share in our resources today the Farm for Client Strategy. And I think that Brian's going to be walking through a lot of these things as well in a little bit more depth for you. Just want to make sure you guys know where to go to find all of these things. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into that Farm Hub. So you click right here. That's going to bring you to your Farm Hub page. What I really love about this is that this takes all the guesswork out of it. If you submit new farm business and you want to understand, hey, when am I going to hear back from the business I've submitted? Is it approved? Is it rejected? Do we have write-backs or questions? Taking a look here, you can see where are our underwriters currently. So right now, today, this has been updated as of this morning. They're working on business submitted from the 19th of August. So as you can see, they're a couple of days behind on farm new business, but they're not too far behind. They're right there. So if you submit a farm change adding that equipment, an update on the farm personal property sheet. You submitted that, they're working on that from the 18th. So they're a few days backlogged on that one right now. So this is gonna give you a nice expectation of what you can tell your clients on how long it's gonna be until they hear back from you. All right, I love that visibility here. Also, some shortcuts to get back to that enterprise reporting hub. Or have you guys been in your Farm Book of Business dashboard? This is a really nice overview of all of your business for farm clients right now. So super nice if you want to get a nice visibility all in one place of who you're working with in the farm space. This is going to be more information for you as far as resources, what we write, some more forms and questionnaires for you. Okay. One thing I wanted to highlight, and I mentioned it a moment ago for Darla, was that farm to-do list. I think that was back here on this page. I'm sorry, I skipped over that a moment ago. Let me grab that for you. Any questions so far? It is. Okay, so Darla and everyone on the call, this is the farm review to-do list. What I really love about this, and I'll try to zoom in a little bit more so you can see it better. There we go. That's a little bit better. So this is going to give you some great best practices of what to do before the review on your day of. The things to remember so that nothing falls through the cracks. It's going to help you be the expert, but also take advantage of this time together so you can cross-sell, so you can capture anything that might be a coverage gap or leave your client in a vulnerable position. During your review, make sure you have your agenda, be able to have those questions to go through everything. Make sure it's signed by the client, right? What to do after the review. And then if you're really new to the space and you just want some questions to lean back on, what should I be asking my client, right? If there were a storm right now, what would you want to happen to fix that outbuilding, okay? If your employee were to be injured, what would that do for you? Would that interrupt your operation? How would you feel? What should we do here? This is going to give you some great cross-selling, probing questions, right? To be asking your client when you're going through this review. So I just really wanted to highlight that while I was doing my screen share. But of course, I'm not alone today. I do have Brian McCormick on here. So I'm going to stop sharing here in a moment if there's no questions for me, and I'm going to allow us to shift over to Brian. We'll bring him up to let him share his screen and answer any of your questions. Hi, Brian.
Good morning.
How are you doing today?
Doing good. Thank you, Kim. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So Brian is our expert here. He is the insurance supervisor, manager. However, I would put that here. How long have you been with Country now, Brian?
Oh, I've been with Country for 17 years, all in the farm underwriting area. Grew up on a family farm just outside of Wilmington, Illinois, raising show pigs, and ag has always been in my blood. And it had the opportunity once I graduated from ISU, Illinois State, to start with Country, and been in the ag underwriting field ever since. So appreciate you guys joining today.
Fantastic. Would you like for me to pull back up the slide deck right now, or do you want to do your screen share first?
I'm going to go ahead and do the screen share first, because I think a lot of the stuff that's on the slide deck, I'm just going to share via screen share. So I'm going to we're going to jump back out here on the Farm Hub, and I apologize, guys, if you see the side of my head. I am going to be looking at a different screen here. So let me go ahead and share my screen. And can you see my screen, Kim?
Yes, we can. We can see your screen.
Perfect. Let me minimize this here. So again, kind of like Kim said, we access the Farm Hub through agency news, or you can go through Passport. Again, Sales Growth Toolbox, click on farm. And again, I know that there is a ton of information out on the SharePoint. Each department has their own SharePoint, so trying to navigate it can be difficult. But I kind of wanted to show just a few key highlights of the Farm Hub. I know Kim already kind of went through quite a bit of this today, but this farm dashboard, this is fairly new, and I did want to let everyone know that you can run a book, a business listing for yourself by clicking this link. You can pull in all of your farm policies. You can sort it if you want to know operator status versus non-operator. If you want to know farm personal property peril code, FPP amount, you can obviously sort this listing however you would like. But a couple things that I kind of wanted to hit on today was in this resource bucket here of the Farm Hub. There's a lot of information out here, but as Kim mentioned, you've got this farm personal property inventory tool. This is something that is fairly new. It was developed here in 2024. But this is a really nice tool that you can download or save to your desktop. And anytime you have a new client that comes into your office and you're writing them for the very first time, you can send this Excel document, email it to them, have them fill it out, and email it back to you. Keep it on your desktop or put it in your file. So that way, anytime they call in and need to add or delete something, you can easily go in here and you know what the description is, you know what the value is, and if they're wanting to delete something off of their inventory, you know exactly how much to reduce farm personal property by, and you're not having to go back to the client and say, what was that thing insured for? You can come in here and you can see exactly the description and the value. The nice thing about this, yes, there are a ton of tabs down here at the bottom, but it all does flow over into this summary part here. So you can see exactly how much machinery that they have insured, how much of the tools and supplies they have insured. If there's any peak season coverage, you can see that. But if you get into these tabs here, everything will kind of break it out a little into more detail than what the summary screen shows. So it's a very good tool. The other thing of it is, again, I've had reps that say they use this tool, and before they go and do a review, they email it to the client and say, would you please review the list of equipment that I've got on file and update it so we can discuss it prior to the farm review that we're going to have. So that's that. Close a few of these here. Then if you get into the how-to reference guides, there's, again, quite a bit of information here. The avoiding writebacks is another good tool that you can use, and we do have this broken out by state, so it is state specific. The nice thing about this, if you click on it, it'll pull it up. It'll tell you exactly what information we need in order to successfully underwrite a new business, a change form. It'll tell you where to send information if you need to fax or email documents into the home office. Again, it's just a one page for all states, just a nice tool to have. The other thing that is really handy is the farm field reference guide. Again, this is broken out by state, and every single underwriter has a copy of this printed off and they have it sitting at their desk. It's a one-page, two-sided document that gives you a snapshot of all of our coverages available, rate classes, peril codes. It talks about the difference between farm and agro plus. Let me shrink this down a little bit. That is a little bit big. But again, you've got the checklist for your new business as far as what we need in order to get a new business underwritten. It talks about the different classifications on dwellings as far as rate classes, minimum amounts of insurance, what loss settlements are available on each rate class for dwellings. Talks about same thing for outbuildings, breaks it out on outbuildings. Peril codes on outbuildings for peril 01 and 02. Then it talks about what peril code options are available on certain dwellings, personal property, outbuildings, things like that. And then this kind of flows into the peril code chart. So peril 01 is all risk. Peril code 02 is covered perils 2 through 19. So that way, if the client is really wanting to know what covered perils come with peril code 02, they can take a look at that and see. You got your policy types, and then on the back page, this is what's really handy. It does talk about the Agri Plus eligibility, and then the difference between farm and Agri Plus on your special limits under personal property, as well as the different limits under the package of special coverages, section 5 of the policy booklet. A couple things that I did want to hit on under the package of special coverages is this new construction piece. This is a really big coverage advantage by having an Agri Plus policy. You get $500,000 worth of new construction coverage for 60 days. So if you have a client that's building a new machine shed or building a new dwelling and they forget to call and tell you about it, they do have $500,000 worth of coverage for 60 days, and that is from the date construction begins. There is no coverage for theft of any sort of tools and materials built into this coverage. It is just strictly once it starts getting built, that's when the 60 days kicks in. The other big piece is newly acquired mobile ag machinery. So on a farm policy, there is no automatic coverage, where on an Agri Plus policy, you get up to $500,000 of coverage for 60 days from the date that it was purchased. And this coverage only applies to equipment that is owned. So if you've got a client that's going out and leasing a piece of equipment from John Deere, this does not count. It has to be owned equipment. Then it talks about, the risk of direct physical loss on mobile ag machinery, the difference between farm and Agri Plus, and then extra expense coverage. As most of you guys are probably aware, each farm and Agri Plus policy comes with $1,000 of extra expense coverage. So what extra expense will pay out on is if you have a client that has a covered loss and they have to go out and rent something in order to resume normal ag operations, we will pay under extra expense the incurred expenses due to that covered loss. So if they have a combine that catches fire, they need to continue with harvest. Extra expense will pay for them to go out, rent another combine to continue with harvest until theirs have either been repaired or replaced.
Hey, Brian.
Yeah.
We had a question in the chat, and Eric wants to know, this is available only for Illinois or all states? It's all the farm states that we write.
For extra expense, yes, it is for all 10 farm states.
Okay, and this document as well, that they have access to it?
Yes. This document is available in Illinois. The Southern Field reference guide would cover your Alabama, Georgia, and Tennessee. And then we've got Minnesota has its own reference guide. And then our Western Field will cover the other five, Idaho, Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Nevada, and Alaska.
Perfect, thank you.
Sure, sure. So yeah, extra expenses in all 10 states. Again, if you want, or if you have a client that wants more extra expense than $1,000, you can request that, and we can increase that for additional premium. I don't know the rates off the top of my head because it does 0 to 10 is one rate, and then once you get 11 to like 20,000, the rate tends to go down a little bit on a per thousand basis. But I would say, you know, the majority of the clients that do buy this, they may not purchase the full amount that they need. They'll purchase maybe half of what they think they need in the event of a loss to kind of help cover some of that, and they're willing to pay the other half out of pocket. But I would say on an average on extra expense, we're about 10,000 of extra expense coverage across the policies that do pull the coverage. We do have a few that, you know, are buying 20, 25,000. They are larger farmers. So when we talk about extra expense, I know, again, documentation is key. So if you have a new client that's coming in for their very first time and you're trying to place coverage, or you're doing a farm review and you talk about extra expense, all I ask is if they decline coverage, make sure you document that somewhere in your review and have the client sign off after the review. So that way, if they do suffer a loss, they can't come back and say, well, if we would have discussed this, I would have bought this. Well, you can say, well, we did discuss this at this review. You decided not to purchase this coverage. You signed off on it. And it's basically just a way to kind of cover yourself in the event that they're going to say that if you would have said something, I would have bought it. Then you've got the business pursuits, endorsements, talks about some of the most common business pursuits, and then outbuilding replacement costs. Again, each region or each state is going to be a little bit different. Again, I just pulled up the Illinois Farm Field Reference Guide, but I would, like I said, I would highly recommend printing this off, either laminating it, sticking it in your folder when you're going out to, because again, all the underwriters have a copy of this sitting at their desk. Going back to the how-to reference guide, we've got the ag-based business. A couple years ago, again, we revised our ag-based businesses. If you click on the ag-based business, you can come in here and it'll tell you, like, if you've got a client that's doing boarding and stabling, you can click on the boarding and stabling guidelines. It'll tell you what's eligible, what's ineligible. It'll tell you if there's any forms or questionnaires that you have to fill out. It'll link everything in the document. So the underwriters do utilize this quite a bit. It is a very handy tool. Let's see. Mobile ag replacement cost coverage. There's some claim scenarios out here. There's just a short video, talks about what the coverage offers, who's able to purchase the coverage, because obviously you have to have an AgriPlus policy. There's machinery guides. So if you're new to the farm space and you're not quite familiar with all the different terms and lingo of machinery, equipment, you can come out here, you can click on this machinery guide, and it'll tell you exactly what a pole shed is, the different tools available. Again, that's all broken out by region. And then going back to the resource tab here, under the forms and questionnaires, I did want to hit on a few things here. Kim mentioned earlier, she was talking about the farm fact finder. If you click on this, I'm going to click on the full fact finder here a second. Again, if you're new to the farm space and you've got a client that calls you up and says, hey, I'm looking, would you be willing to quote my business? Can you come out, take a look? You can print this full version of the fact finder off. And the nice thing about this is it has every single question that you need to ask a client in order to come back to your office and provide a quote. It talks about just your general policy information. This is a fillable PDF, by the way, so you don't have to print it off if you don't want. There's a 12-page PDF, but it talks about your liability. You know, is there any incidental business pursuits? And the reason we put this together is because farm is a complex line of business, and we're trying to make it easy for agency that may not be familiar with writing farm to go and ask these questions to avoid going back to the office and having multiple phone conversations back and forth with trying to fill out an application. Again, this is the full version of the fact finder. It's got everything listed on it. If you have a client that you're getting ready to do a review with, and they say, hey, before you come out, don't let me forget to tell you about this new machine shed that I put on, or that I built. You can go to just the outbuilding section and print that off, or the location section, you can print that off. We did break it out into different sections to avoid every single time of you having to print 12 pages off. So it is a pretty handy tool or a resource that's available. Let's see. That was the only thing that I wanted to share in the forms section. Sorry, I got too many tabs opened up here.
That's easy to do. There's so many great
Yeah,
resources.
there's so many, yeah, you're absolutely correct. So many resources. You got the click to know. So I think that's basically just a few things that I kind of wanted to highlight. Like Kim already mentioned, you got the farm certification information out here. It'll tell you, you can go to the farm certification dashboard to track your progress on how many farms you've written year to date. One other thing that I did want to share that most of you may not know, we do have the farm loss control tab down here. If you click on this farm loss control, we do have two underwriters available for virtual inspections. We've got Zach Kinthorne and Jennifer Reed. They're both very knowledgeable on different areas within farm. So if you happen to have a client that has, you know, a poultry confinement, hog confinement, other livestock confinement facilities, seed cleaners, or any other complex risks that you need assistance on underwriting or trying to place coverage, you can come over here and you can click this link to request a virtual survey. You can fill it out, you can submit it. It does come into a functional mailbox that Jennifer and Zach monitor, and they can set up a virtual survey with you or with the client to inspect. It is a pretty neat process that I don't know if very many people are aware of, but they'll basically, once you submit your form, they'll submit, or they'll send you a link via text message. And all you need is you have to have cell phone service, and you can actually go out to the client's property, and we're basically like FaceTiming with you. And Jennifer and Zach on the back end can sit here and take photos of the operation. they can save them to the underwriting file. And then that way you're not having to submit photos of everything that you're taking pictures of. But that only works if you fill the form out and Zach and Jennifer do that virtual inspection. Some of the surveys that they've done, you know, is grain complexes, again, your poultry operations, high value structures. If you get into an operation that you're not quite familiar with or not sure on how to value it, set up a virtual survey. Again, they'll take the pictures, they'll do the inspection, they will even help you run a 360 valuation on that structure or that item. Solid fuel installations, feed mills. So again, very good resource that I would highly recommend if you need it.
Absolutely. I've seen them do that demonstration live of that. It's very cool.
Yeah,
It's like you're there.
yeah, it is very neat. It is very neat. But yeah, that's pretty much just a few things that I wanted to share on the Farm Hub. And do we have any questions in the chat? I don't have mine.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm monitoring the chat. Does anyone have any questions while we still have Brian, our expert, here with us? So anything that you're working on that you're kind of wondering about, you plan to call an underwriter after this call? Got the expert right here on the line that might be able to answer your question as far as anything to do with your certification. You're getting some praise on the chat right now, Brian. Thank you, Alan.
Good,
for
thank you.
information. I'll go ahead and pull back up our slide deck. And we'll continue on with our resources available. And again, if you think of a question, Alan is raising his hand. Alan, what's your question? How can we help?
I understand that very new to farming, the bare minimum of somebody coming off of a home policy and needing to be on a farm, where do we run into that? You know, if they just bought a couple cows, you know, at what point do we need to convert that home policy to a farm policy?
Great question. So with the new homegrown system, I will be honest with you guys. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know what the new home product is willing to take versus what they won't. I've always been telling reps, you know, if there's any sort of farm exposure, any sort of livestock, go ahead and move it over to the farm line of business, because if they're starting to get into maybe a few head of cattle, it's probably more than likely going to grow. So I highly recommend, if you see any sort of farm, go ahead and write it on the farm line of business. Does that answer your question, Alan, or?
Yes, it does, but that's kind of the answers I've gotten. There's just some gray area.
Yeah.
And I've got one particular client of mine, actually family. So we're just trying to make sure we do the right thing. I actually had an adjuster tell me that if they had a barn, that it wouldn't be covered under the home policy, that it had to be a farm if they had a barn on the property. So that was one of the things that we're in the process of switching this over. But, you know, I didn't know if there was a revenue point where they were making revenue or anything like that, or where it was a hard line, yes, it needs to be bought.
Yeah, no, we took the revenue piece out, just because again, with the new homegrown, coming in, and no longer, offering the country estate, we had to take the $2,500 gross farm income out of our eligibility piece. But I do know, like you said, yeah, with the homegrown, if it is used in farming, they won't allow auxiliary private structures, APS, and it would have to be specifically listed on the farm policy in order for on the home policy in order for there to be coverage on those structures. So, if you want, feel free to reach out to me after this, and we can talk about the case that you've got.
Thanks for the information. Appreciate it.
Fantastic. Does anyone else have a question while we still have Brian here to answer? We've completed a lot of lessons going through this program, so I know that you already are armed with a wealth of knowledge, but we know that situations do change and there's a lot of unique farm exposures out there. So if there's anything that you're working through, that you're looking for a second opinion on, I highly recommend that you do just take advantage of this time right now, or again, our farm underwriters. I know that I utilized them several different times when I was in the field as well. And Jennifer was one of the underwriters that would very kindly walk me through the blue zone all over again when I needed assistance working through the voting process. Fantastic. Okay, well, if you think of a question while we're here, no problem, but I am going to move forward to the resources to make sure that I give you guys the links that I have mentioned today. So I'm going to give you the link for the farm certification dashboard. This is where you're going to go to take a look at where you are in your status of the farm certification process. The sales growth toolbox, which we highlighted today as well, is live linked here and in the chat. That Farm Hub, highly recommend that you just go ahead and save that as a favorite within your browser. Just such a great resource to have access to real quick. It'll get you all the places that you want to go there. Those farm fact finders will be so useful for you as you continue to explore this space and write more farm. The core client strategy is available there, as well as that farm review to-do list that I showed you earlier. I recommend that you save that. I have had several reps that would choose to print that off and laminate it, take it with them. As Brian recommended earlier, when you're going to the property itself, you can go ahead and just use one of those dry erase markers to just mark it off for your new farm client each and every time. Make sure you're not letting anything fall through the cracks in the process there. And then, of course, a link to Country Brand Builder. So you have a lot of branded materials available to you in the farm space that you can be taking advantage of. You don't need to reinvent the wheel there. There's a lot of things you already have access to. Okay. So we'll have a couple more minutes left of this session, but if you'd like to finish early, we could do that too. But I'm here for you if you do have any questions, and I know Brian is as well. Thank you, Eric, for the kind words in the chat. Really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to go through this farm certification review session with us. Hope you found it valuable.